Swag out there and bout.
What's going on, everybody? It's Webster out here, the man, the voice, the fragrance, here with the lovely Liv. Excuse me, Liz. I always say live in my head.
Oh, it
But-
is Liv.
oh, Liv. Okay. In my head, I'm like, is it live or live? Live or live? Okay. Liv Revamped. Liv, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good.
Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Now, you are a star that, doing my research, I find to be very fascinating. Particularly with the name, the adding the revamped. And I know that came about because you took some time away from the industry. What really made you take time away and what made you come back?
Well, the thing is that a lot of people aren't aware of is when I first started in the industry, I was typecast as Latina, even
Okay.
though I'm multiracial. So I'm
Okay.
Native American, Mexican, Greek, German, Filipino, English, and Black. I grew up in a Filipino household, and I never identified with being Latina like that. And my mom was more mixed and Filipino, whereas my dad was Creole.
Okay.
So I felt like I was not just lying to the audience, but trying to convince myself I was somebody I wasn't. And
Understood.
so I took a break from the industry because I kind of wanted to just step away. I didn't want to be Liv Aguilera anymore, which is who I was formerly. So when I got back into the industry, I rebranded, I revamped my brand, and I just told myself if this doesn't work, then it's not meant to be. And well, it's working.
That's fascinating. I never thought of it that way. And I guess I never questioned your ethnicity, but I totally understand about, seeing you, the typecasting part, especially like it would be assumed that, okay, yeah, you're Latino. Okay. Yeah. No questions about that. But that's really amazing. As far as I'm concerned, and thinking about how the industry typecasting really getting kind of, especially with regards to say roles, especially maybe 10 years ago, you didn't see the sort of cross section of talent going in this sort of genre, that sort of genre, like you do now in 2023. That's very interesting. Let me ask you, as a performer though, is there a difference between Liv Aguilera and Liv Revamped?
The answer is both yes and no.
Okay.
Who I am on camera is definitely my most authentic sexual self.
Hmm.
But just because that is my sexual self does not mean that is me 24/7. That is just uh one part of me.
Okay. That sounds fun. And then with the Live Revamped, we talk about branding and especially now more so with more and more content being created for that direct to consumer market, whether it's OnlyFans. I forget all the other sites, but you and others in the adult industry really have a one-to-one connection with your fans now. Where you didn't have that, 5 or 6 years ago. How important now is that rebranding in this sort of environment compared to maybe 2, 3 years ago, in your opinion?
I think I'm glad I rebranded when I did because now the industry is so just saturated with
Right.
many different performers of different backgrounds and uh, just different ways of life now. Whereas back in 2011, when I first started, there was a very small circle of performers,
Right.
which is why I kind of had to be typecast because the industry wasn't nearly as progressive as it is today, which is
Right.
why now there are so many different performers. However, like I said, if I would have rebranded now, I feel like I probably would have gotten lost in the chaos of, who's the new girl, who's the it girl, who's doing this and that. And I already having a few years under my belt, I just kind of picked up where I left off and had already established myself.
Understood. Now, you talk about, I guess the it girl, and I always tell when I have the interviews, like, I'm not a student of the industry like I was, say, my teenage years, early college years, which was a drastically different time. Uh, but I do remember, and this is when people bought magazines, and it was the thing. Guess it's still the thing to get a video cover now, but it seems like those sort of things aren't as important considering how the industry is with, again, OnlyFans, but also I would say there aren't a lot of movies anymore. It's all a collection of scenes, and with that distribution over the web now compared to a DVD or something like that back in the day, that branding, especially now, seems like it would be even more important. Where being the it girl isn't as much because the it girl could be here today, gone tomorrow, but
Exactly.
you establishing that brand really carries on because I will say, like, I'm not that familiar, but when I saw your name, I'm like, that's the name that stands out. That's a name that makes me want to say, who is this performer? Because it is so unique. And the whole revamped aspect of it, it has a connotation of a brand new, of change, of being different than what was there before. And that's even before knowing your background and how you were Liv Aguilera, and then you came back. And that stands out to me, and I'm pretty sure somebody who's even a novice, like, oh, that's really interesting. So you would even stand out by your name alone, the way you've branded, in my opinion, compared to the new it girl.
Well, I
And,
would hope so.
yeah, and speaking of that branding, I understand you also, you're taking your brand and you're expanding it into podcasting. And the podcast, correct me if I'm wrong, is Living High. So I have a pretty good idea
Higher
of higher living. Excuse me. See, I knew I'd get it wrong. I have a pretty good idea of maybe what you're talking about, but tell us about the podcast.
Well, kind of like what you're trying to do with your podcast, interviewing different performers. My goal is to interview performers, get to know them on a more of a personal level outside of the industry, as well as discuss the things that truly make them happy and the path they take to really reach their higher selves. And I think that's really important to discuss because I think we always talk about how we live in such a toxic society. And I don't necessarily want to talk about toxicity. I want to talk about
Right.
what, uplifts people,
Right.
how people live their higher selves
Got you.
while
I
also
love
getting
that.
really high.
Right. I love it. I find that to be so great. One of the things I like about podcasts in general is that now it's so accessible, and there's so many voices, and there are never enough. There are too many podcasts to try to listen to that I want to listen to. But it's always great, especially, and I think with you being in the industry and talking to others in the industry, there's a familiarity and a comfort because they're going to be common experiences. The walls are going to come down a little bit, and especially if you're getting a little bit high as well. I'm pretty sure those are going to be some very interesting conversations. I understand that you talk to as real as guys as well as Anna Fox, two people who I've had the good fortune of talking to, and I really loved it. So I'm really interested to see or to hear your podcast with them, to see what else they really reveal, how they let their guard down, and just how vulnerable they are. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. I love the vulnerability of these sort of conversations, especially I know for myself, especially when we'll be in the excuse me, I just want geek blurred circle. When we talk, there's a bit more excitement because there's a common experience. There's those common loves there, and I can only imagine how much of a listening experience that higher living is going to be.
Well, the most important thing is I want people to be able to use my podcast as a platform. I want people to be able to use my podcast in order to talk about the things that they're really passionate about, and not just you know the same old. And I think a lot of these, not just the girls, but a lot of the performers, directors, producers, they're involved in so many different um, activities outside of the
Mhm.
industry, and I think that's so intriguing. It's crazy what people do when they're not filming porn.
I, from my conversations, I definitely understand and agree. It's not just, it's very fascinating as well, and I love seeing multi-dimensionalness of all of them. Just people in general were really of those in the adult industry because there's such a stereotype with that, and I like seeing other sides. Now, talking about the adult industry, are there any performers that you, I won't say looked up to, but you really enjoyed watching before you got into the industry?
Before I got into the industry, I was actually fairly innocent. I didn't really know who many people were. I didn't even know who any of these companies were. So
Hmm,
when I did my first scene for Vivid, I'm just like, okay, cool. I had no idea what company I was shooting for and uh, the catalyst that scene would be for my career.
interesting. Okay. You were a newborn babe, so to speak, when you got to the point you nothing about. That's fascinating, in my opinion. Now I'm going to ask you something, and correct me if I'm wrong. I've been looking through some of your social media, and I feel as though you're a lover of anime. Is that correct?
Oh, I love anime.
Excellent. So, how did you get into anime?
Well, I started watching anime really, really young. Not really young, but I guess um, it starts with like Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, Dragon Ball Z, and then um Cartoon Network had Toonami, and you watch whatever anime was on there. And then you had Adult Swim, and during the week, it was mainly just like adult animations and adult shows.
Right.
And Saturdays were all anime, or at least mostly anime. So I would stay up until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and just watch all the anime they had.
Right, because I saw that you were dressed as Faye Valentine for one awards event. Um,
Not an award event,
it
just
wasn't
a
a award.
random industry Halloween party.
Oh, it was a Halloween party. Okay, all right. Well, that's even better. So, do you get a chance to cosplay often then? Because it looked like you had a lot of fun doing that.
Sadly, no, I don't get to cosplay very often. Um, I know people say that cosplay doesn't have to be expensive, but it's not necessarily practical for me. I know there's a lot of girls who capitalize on cosplaying and doing content in cosplay. That's just not my demographic, unfortunately. As much as I would love to cosplay, um, my fans just, the ones I have just aren't really into it. I'm sure I have a couple, and I've done a couple cosplay customs, but they
Okay,
would buy the costume for me
right.
and then I would do the custom. Whereas if I went out and bought the costume, like I have with like a few cosplays, they're just really not into it.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah. Okay. How about well, maybe not so much for customers, but you ever thought about just going to conventions and cosplaying just on your own for your just for fun?
I've always wanted to. I've never been to an anime expo or a comic con or anything. Unfortunately, usually when those events are happening, I'm either booked or there's another event that I
Understood.
have to attend.
And I totally understand. I myself of getting like I've gone for years, but I'm getting back into it because I had a love for a time. But yeah, if you ever find the time, just go.
I'm
It's
trying.
it's just fun to go with like-minded individuals and to find new things and to go to new panels and to meet people. It's just an awesome experience. I'll say you get a chance to go. That's a really, really cool thing to do.
I'm trying. It's on my bucket list.
So now, okay. So what you talked about? So what are some of your favorite anime? Say, well, let me ask. What are some of your favorite anime growing up, and then what are you watching now?
So growing up, I got into, well, Cowboy Bebop. I loved Inuyasha, even though now I watch it as an adult and I find most of the characters kind of infuriating. But it was great for like teen angst. It was a great teen angst anime. And Fooly Cooly, I thought that was really funny. I have not watched any of the new season. I remember watching Trigun. That's another show that I have not watched the new episodes for. Um, Bleach, but I never finished it. I started watching Naruto, but I only just finished Naruto, and I'm in the middle of Naruto Shippuden right now. And so I guess right now, I'm currently rewatching Attack on Titan because I never watched the latest season because what was it? Season 5 made me want to just jump out a window.
Understood. Yeah, I personally have to get back into Attack on Titan. I think I kind of lost out at season 2, so I have a lot to catch up on. I will tell you, I did finish Bleach way back when, and have watched the new season that came out too. It's really good. So
Yes.
it's really good. They did not disappoint. So whenever you finish, you got new stuff to watch when it comes out. But it's cool. And Trigun's a classic. It's we like you literally named like all the stuff that I saw. I guess that was college for me, college era a little bit after, especially at Dragon Ball Z, and like I loved Cowboy Bebop. I still do. I bought it. This is back when people were selling fan dub DVDs on eBay before you could buy them in the store. So I saw like a fan dub DVD. I bought in like 2001. So yeah, I anime is just so cool, and there's so many different types of anime for you to really get into. So I think that's really awesome. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, you left the industry, you came back. Do you have an end goal for Live Revamped?
An angle, as in like Endgame.
For okay, let me phrase it this way. Say 5 years from now, where do you see Live Revamped with regards to the brand? How do you want the brand to expand? If it's past the adult industry or within the adult industry.
Well, I want to expand to more of just being an internet personality. I feel like I have a lot to talk about. Think um, despite kind of being a little mellow today, I think I bring a lot of personality to the internet. And I think not just that, I feel like because I have so many years under my belt within the industry, I have the privilege to, well, privilege and the connections to talk to the performers I want and really just uh, show the world who they are outside of porn.
Okay, I like that. And again, you speak very well to the fact that, having those connections will really give you those opportunities. So with that, you looking, well, primarily to keep it as a podcast, or you looking for maybe, changing the video format as well, YouTube,
Well,
other
we're
aspects?
doing a video
Okay.
format podcast, so we're
Okay.
gonna release it on all platforms, Spotify, YouTube, etc. And yeah, kind of just take it from there.
Okay. All right. And when should we expect, the first episode to drop if it hasn't dropped already?
I still need to film one more episode, but
Okay.
once that is out, I will be releasing, I think, weekly or bi-weekly episodes.
Okay. Oh, so you were smart. You did a batch filming and then you want to release them out. Smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. I do a podcast weekly, and it's been about a month since my last one. This just because of life and planning. But yeah, batching them is a
Exactly.
better option for your time, definitely. Oh boy. So Liv, I want to thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Tell all the fine folks where they can find you.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Liv Revamped, LIVREVAMPED. And you can follow me on Instagram at livrevamped.safeforwork, SFW. And then, of course, subscribe to my OnlyFans at livrevamped.com.
Thank you, Liv. I appreciate it. You guys stay tuned. We have more coming up soon.
Thank you.